First learned about law. So anyway, so you're already involved in China, and then the Sichuan earthquake happens, and there's so then go ahead with the story of how you got involved.
That is part of the reason that I wanted to go to Sichuan and be there for a little while, just to see what had happened in the aftermath, what was happening now, 6 months, 8 months later,
right?
And it was interesting to find out that there was, well, not interesting, I guess it would be obvious with that kind of a huge tragedy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, there's so many needs there still to this day. And I got to see that because I got to go up and perform at the relocation schools for a bunch of the kids in Wenchuan and outside in the other relocation schools that weren't in Wenchuan, which is where the heart of the earthquake was. Mm-hmm. And the kids would come up to me after I'd play, and I'd have these little girls crying and hugging me and saying their stories of how they lost everybody or lost this person, or I just don't know how to believe that the earth will continue to exist tomorrow.
Wow.
And that's the big issue, is they feel like they're going to jump off a precipice and never come back. And everybody they know and love will too.
Right.
I mean, that's some serious psychological scarring there.
Yeah.
So they said the music made their hearts light, and that just made me really happy. Mm-hmm. So I thought to myself, well, how cool would it be to make a record with these kids? Let's make a record, you know? So I went back to the States, and I talked to this guy, Dave Liang, from the Shanghai Restoration Project, who actually lives in Chinatown in New York City. Mm-hmm. And we both fronted the money and came over and made a record with a bunch of kids in one specific relocation school. It was, at the time, it was in Omeishan, which is in southwest Sichuan. Now the kids are back home in Wenchuan. And actually, just the other day, I got to play the music with the kids and for the kids in Chengdu. For the first time, which was amazing.
That's awesome. That's amazing. That's incredible.
It was amazing. And the record's called After Quake. And just for people to know, if they buy it, the money goes back to the relocation schools. And it's all electronica music mixed with
the proceeds
kids.
Go to this, to the fund?
To Sichuan Quake Relief, who takes the money and puts it directly into the schools. There's really very little in between, so it's really everything. You buy it online, afterquakemusic.com, iTunes. So on Friday, March 13th, we headed from Chengdu up to Omeishan with our little crew in a van full of medicine and dictionaries. After their school fell down and they were relocated here, a lot of these kids have barely seen their families in over 6 months.
American folk music before.
It's 6 a.m., Chengdu. We're headed to Wenchuan today to try and sit down with some of the parents. We realized that we really needed to understand the kids' situation more, particularly by going and meeting with their parents and understanding where they come from.
Okay, so you've got this project, After Quake. This was with the kids, right? But is there a way, can you perform one of those songs live?
Yeah, I'd love to bring Kai Welch out, and we'll perform one of the songs together. And this song in particular is called Sala.
Sala, meaning?
Well, I don't know exactly. I think they're kind of nonsense words. But part of the point of the whole project was to represent that this earthquake not only affected millions of Han people, but also a lot of the minorities in Sichuan were heavily affected by this as well, ethnic minorities, including the Tibetan, the Yi, Tujia, and especially the Qiang people. It could be upwards of 30% that were simply crushed in the earthquake.
Incredible.
And they've been having a hard time holding on to their traditions as it is. So it felt important to include that in the record. And this one little girl, so cute, such a beautiful voice, sings this on the record, and we turn it into sort of a faux classical kind of electronica background with her singing it's a huozhuang, which is a fire song. So they sing this when they are around the fire. And if you can imagine in the States, probably some kind of Native American tradition would be similar to this.
Yeah.
And so it's a call, Sala heyo, Sala shi, Sala deho, Sala shi, Sala wambar, wambo loa, Sala deho, Sala shi.
Take it away.
Okay, so before we start this next song, I want to introduce you to the guy who's come over to Beijing with me this time. We're working on a collaboration and new songs. We're even doing a little writing retreat in Beijing.
Hi.
He's an amazing artist, originally from Oregon, the wilds of Oregon, very different from Beijing, China.
Correct.
Sala de ho, sala si, sala wambar wambolo, sala de ho, sala si. Sala heyo, sala shi, sala de ho, sala shi, sala wambar wambolo, sala de ho, sala shi. Sala heyo, sala shi, sala de ho, sala shi, sala heyo, sala shi, sala de ho, sala shi, sala wambar wambolo, sala de ho, sala shi. 谢谢。
Okay, very nice, very interesting. Yeah. So, what was it like working with these kids? How did you? I mean, they didn't have to have any musical talent at the outset. You just assembled these kids together, right? How was that process?
The process of making After Quake with the kids. Well, luckily we had this strong connection with this organization called Sichuan Quake Relief, and they have Chinese. Sichuan University and other university volunteers who are young Chinese people who want to help. And they had a few of them coordinate for us and take us out to Omeishan School, communicate directly with the principal, the vice principal, and had one of the teachers choose, we said 8 or 9 kids that we could sort of try out to see what kind of songs they would bring and what they wanted to sing and what their voices were like. And of those, we chose 7. And they all chose traditional songs. And they were great singers and great kids, really awesome. And we spent about 5 days there with them.
It must have been a fantastic experience for them as well as you. I mean, life-changing for both of you in a way.
I would say so, although I would say that I didn't really know what it meant to them until I saw them again just a few days ago, which now is 7 months later since the process of making the record. And they all just said that they all felt like this gave them a lot of confidence and belief in themselves and something to be happy about and rejoice in.
Yeah.
It was a really beautiful thing to hear that it meant that to them, because it meant that to me. Although I hadn't suffered the same thing, just that general feeling of the human spirit lifting. Yeah,
wonderful. You know, music has this power. I mean, I just believe so strongly in the power of music to do this, but we forget that. I mean, in this day and age, music gets so commercialized and sort of take it for granted that you know it's out there. But I mean, it's amazing to do this in this cross-cultural setting.